Hello to all of you from around the world. I want to welcome you to another beautiful edition of SOULIVITY Today, broadcasting live from our studio right here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and on KMIT 1490 AM radio in Southern California. Of course, you know me. I'm Brian Westley Johnson, and we have another amazing show for you today. But before I get to that, I got to bring into the conversation right now my amazing co-host for today, Teresa Greco. Hey, Teresa.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here on a Friday.
I know it's like amazing that you're here. Typically you're here on Mondays for our Motivational Monday, but you're able to come in for our Hot Topic Friday. Woohoo!
Yay, so excited.
As we were saying before, this is another Hot Topic Friday where, we bring to you news and stories from around the world you may not be aware of. You see, we don't want to kind of rehash all the old stuff that you may hear throughout the week. Sometimes we'll bring some of that stuff in, but we really want to give you different perspectives on topics and issues which are interesting for all of us. This includes both serious stuff and fun stuff as well. So let's get started. Teresa, there's a lot going on with the victims of the latest rash of wildfires around the world. So we're giving prayers and support to those folks. Some of the places are like Maui, Hawaii, Washington State, British Columbia, Canada, and even in Greece, there's a lot of wildfires going on. But I thought it was important for people to know that climate scientists are united in their belief that these events are not part of the natural cycle of renewal in our ecosystem. That means the unprecedented number of wildfires would not have happened without man-made climate change. Here's more on this from Sky News.
Tom's on Corfu for us this morning. Tom, can this be linked to climate change?
Morning, Kay. Well, almost, yes, absolutely it can. In fact, that's the conclusion of an international team of scientists today, that the wildfires that we're seeing have been fueled by heat waves that would have been virtually impossible, they conclude, without man-made emissions of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, putting another layer of glass on that greenhouse, pushing up global temperatures. That heat's got to go somewhere, and it ends up in heat waves that can lead to wildfires like the ones we're seeing. Here on Corfu, they're still water bombing this gorge that I'm in from firefighting aircraft to control the fires here. They're pretty much out. They've been helped by very low winds and quite low levels of vegetation, even on this small sort of wooded northeast part of the island. Obviously on roads, a completely different story, much more forested, questions being raised about how well prepared or how well managed the fire situation on roads had been, but also, as you were saying there, questions about the travel industry bringing tourists into an area that clearly wasn't going to be able to accommodate them, and now they need to get extra flights in to get them out. And it's emergencies like that we think of. These are one-offs, these are rare things, but what the science is telling us, what this report tells us, these things are going to become even more common. Right now we're living with just over about 1 degree of global warming on average around the planet. With 2 degrees of warming, that's a point we're going to get to in about 30 years if emissions aren't radically cut to zero in the coming decades. The events that we're seeing now will be happening every 2 to 5 years, this report concludes. Which is a very sobering thought and raises questions about what that new normal looks like and what that means for all of us, not just the people who live here and the economy and productivity of areas like this, but also tourism and how it affects our lives as well.
Just a quick thought, Tom. I was reading last night that Europe is heating twice as quickly as any other continent. That's pretty alarming.
And this is the vagaries of a warming global climate. We know that carbon dioxide is going up in the atmosphere. We know on average it's getting warmer. Where that heat goes, where it spends its time, that's much, much harder to predict in a chaotic, complex climatological system. What we've seen, 3 concurrent heat waves during this summer in North America, Europe, and over Asia. We see the Arctic warming much, much faster in our areas. Yes, now this evidence that Europe is heating faster, particularly the Mediterranean Sea. What the impacts will be of global warming, that's going to be the real battle for scientists to understand. How's this going to play out? What are the impacts on that global system, and where will they emerge, and what new threats might they pose?
Woo! So we got to take this seriously, right? Teresa, what are your thoughts about all this?
Well, it's interesting to note the areas that they're saying seem to be a little bit hotter than other parts that are experiencing the fire. I know I was in Greece last year as well, and
Yeah.
witnessing some of those same things. Same in Italy, the same thing, and they just don't even have the resources to be able to tackle the fires. It's on a daily basis where, the
Right.
side of the mountain has caught fire. They do know too that sometimes these fires are being caused by man, that
Mm-hmm.
people are lighting them on purpose,
Yeah.
for various reasons. So, unfortunately, there is that aspect as well. It's not just a temperature thing, but it's also, man itself is also contributing. But I thought that aspect was interesting about the temperature difference, just because
Yeah.
Canada is actually carbon neutral or carbon deficit. So because of
Right.
the number of trees that we actually don't have a carbon footprint. So I can
Right.
understand how, in Europe, things are definitely different
Right.
than it is here. So that's why I find it, to be honest, I find it a bit peculiar as to like why the wildfires here in BC and spreading up into Yellowknife are as prevalent as they are this year.
From what I've been reading about all this is that um, since climate change, right? So we're saying that the climate is changing around the globe. So certain places that would normally receive a certain amount of rain, for instance, like in parts of Canada, right, where
Hmm.
where the forests that are around, which would normally have a normal amount of rain, they've been going into more drought conditions or closer to drought conditions,
Mhm.
and so there's more kindling, right? And so
Mhm. Mhm.
if there's more kindling, when the natural renewal cycle starts with, like, thunderstorms come, lightning strikes, and a fire starts, right? And for hundreds of thousands of years, that was the Earth's way of clearing out brush and providing fertile soil for new vegetation. Well, now there's too much, right? And so these fires burn really, really viciously because there's a lot of dry wood and other dry vegetation for the fires to just ignite. I know that was true in, like, people think of Maui and out in Hawaii as this tropical paradise, and that, well, how could there be a fire there? Well, on Maui, like on a lot of the islands, there's two different sides of climate, right? One side is more tropical. The other side can be more arid, for example, where it's more desert-like. And over the years, the side of Maui where, according to what I've been reading, that where they haven't gotten a lot of rain has gotten more and more arid. And even though the trees are able to survive through certain aspects, like that big tree that got singed, um, there's a lot of kindling. And so you couple that with the fact that there was a hurricane out to the east of them that was pushing these winds onto that side of Maui, which was like, like if you're trying to start a fire and you're kind of blowing on it to
Mhm.
kind of
Mhm.
spread the
Mhm.
ashes so that it would catch fire, right? In terms of a
Mhm.
campfire. It's the same principle in Maui, where that wind was just blowing and spreading that fire into the urban area that was there. So you got less rain, right, in an arid area, in an area that typically would have more rain, so it dries out,
Mhm.
and you
Mhm.
have a hurricane, which was also caused, like, the season is earlier because of climate change, and an El Nino that's out in the Pacific Ocean that is like the strongest that it's been on in history. So all these things are like a perfect storm that comes together that's causing these wildfires around the globe. I mean, people think of climate change as just one thing, and it's like not. It's climate. It's all the climate. Places that that are supposed to be cold are warmer. Places that are warmer that are supposed to be warm are colder. So you've got all these different aspects around that are happening simultaneously, and things like this happen, unfortunately. I guess, yeah, go ahead, Teresa.
I was just going to say that, Brian, us being spiritual people,
Hmm.
that science is always saying one thing, but then from a spiritual perspective,
Hmm.
I, I feel like we could understand Mother Nature as an intelligence that
Hmm.
has existed from the beginning of time, in
True.
that nature knows what to do, right? Then
Right.
the animals
Hmm.
know what to do. They
Hmm.
understand the timing even before we do, right? That I look to the trees for when their summer is over, because I start to see some of those. I'm like, how does it know? How does it know that, sometimes when the weather is nice, right? Mother
Right.
Nature knows. And then the animals all of a sudden start like going into harvest mode, or like,
Right.
it's just, there is an intelligence that is controlling and taking care of things that is outside our scope of knowledge. That if we look
Absolutely.
to the amount of the amount of snow that California got this past winter, it was like astronomical.
Hmm.
And the amount of snow and precipitation has actually helped them to avoid the number of fires that they typically have in the
Hmm.
summertime. And so
Hmm.
this is the intelligence that Mother Nature is like, okay, I need to, download a whole bunch of precipitation here, because 6 months from now that it already knows what the summer is going to be like
True.
outside of our like even comprehension or cognitive ability. So
True.
I
Uh,
also want to put trust in Mother Nature to know what it is that, and not to say that that the issues that are contributing to this aren't real. I'm not saying that, but I
right.
think that Mother Nature has a plan to always keep us in balance, that the earth has been around for billions of years, right?
Yeah. True.
Even before humans were on earth.
Hmm.
And the earth has gone through various cycles of change, right? The
Hmm.
dinosaurs went extinct
Hmm.
because of what was happening to the earth at that time. So not to say that we don't need to make changes. Absolutely, we should be honoring and loving Mother Earth because it is part of us.
Right.
But at the same time, I also put trust in Mother Earth to know
Sure.
that she is doing what she needs to do to like ensure that everyone and everything is taken care of, not just us, but everything as part of that. So I don't know how you
I,
feel about that.
I completely agree. I'm going to take like 30 seconds to kind of tell you. I think that everything that you just said is spot on. I would also say this, that Mother Nature has also been telling us that what we're doing with like fossil fuels and other things aren't helpful. And so if we don't listen to what Mother Nature is telling us,
Mhm,
then
mhm,
Mother Nature, along with spirit, it's like that whole whisper and then, yelling
mhm.
and then push you down
Uh-huh.
until you finally realize what's
Mhm,
going on. I think that that's also what's happening. So
mhm,
we need to be paying attention. Listen, everybody,
mhm.
great thoughts, Teresa. Listen, everybody, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we've got even more for Hot Topic Friday coming up. Got another great story that's probably going to make you more optimistic about everything that we're talking about in terms of climate change. SOULIVITY Today is brought to you by Happy Travelers Tours and Old Vine Wine Tours. can find all of the Satana products at our Go shop at go.soulivity.com.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
Hello there, we're back with more here on Soulivity Today for a Hot Topic Friday. Hey, Teresa, with the last segment that we had about the wildfires, I know, we were just talking about Gaia, Mother Earth, and the complexity of everything that's going on. I think for folks, it can be a little depressing that climate change is a major reason for it in its different ways, right? Well, listen, I've got a next story that's going to make you smile because many people do recognize that we do have to change and move away from causes of climate change with real solutions we know will work. So let's take a look at this next story coming out of Paris with France 24 News.
Other news today, 9 European countries are holding a summit aimed at scaling up wind power generation in the North Sea, this spurred by the fallout of the war in Ukraine and the push for renewable energy. Hosted by Belgium, France's Emmanuel Macron is among the leaders attending. However, wind farms are a source of friction between France and Belgium at the moment. French authorities are planning to build dozens of wind turbines off Dunkirk on the edge of Belgian territorial waters in an environmentally protected area. And the plans are generating significant anger in Belgium, as our correspondent Dave Keating reports.
In 40 years, this retired Belgian couple has never tired of this view. But in their binoculars, they may soon see wind turbines. France plans to create a wind farm off Dunkirk. It's a disturbing prospect for this small Belgian seaside town, located just 2 kilometers from the French border.
We still have, especially in La Panne, an extraordinarily wide beach with the magnificent view which would deteriorate with these wind turbines. Belgium has only 60 kilometers of coastline.
That compares to nearly 18,000 kilometers for the French coasts. This project irritates the mayor of La Panne. Today he is meeting a French counterpart in a town on the other side of the border.
Monsieur le maire, bonjour.
Bonjour.
The 2 elected officials share common concerns about the wind farm, in particular its proximity to the coast. A pioneer in the development of this green energy, Belgium is building its wind parks further from the coast.
Like Belgium, there is already a project, but it is 40 kilometers away in the sea. If the French put it at 10 kilometers and the Belgians at 40, why not make a Franco-Belgian park 30 kilometers away, which would not bother anyone? And France is far from being a pioneer in this field. We're still learning what's happening in other countries.
Late to the game, France wants to catch up. But the Dunkirk offshore project also worries environmental associations. The park would be located in a protected area crossed each year by many species of migratory birds.
This project is ignoring biodiversity issues. That's all. When you have such an area that is protected for migration and you still allow wind turbines, that means the protection is really paper, but that's it.
Belgium has filed several legal challenges against this project. At the same time, discussions are taking place at diplomatic level between France and Belgium.
Well, also covering this story today is our science reporter Shirley Sitbon. She's with me now. Shirley, why are European countries investing so much in offshore wind farms around the North Sea? Why that area in particular?
Well, it has many favorable conditions. First of all, a lot of wind, and also it's pretty shallow, which means it doesn't cost as much as other areas. Still, it costs too much for Europeans, and they want to find ways to make it even cheaper. That's why they're meeting today with many business people working out ways to produce and to build all of that energy. So France and 5 other countries will join the 4 original countries who created the summit last year, centered around Belgium, which initiated this. So the goal basically is to become like the UK and Germany, one of the motors of the wind energy, and to join this network. That's basically the goal, to produce 10 times more energy than we do today by 2050. So that's basically the goal. The capacity will be 10 times larger.
Now, Shirley.
Wow. So complex, but I think people are moving in the right direction, right?
It's tough to say because again, the long term benefits or cons. I look at all of those and I'm like, what about in 30 years when we've hopefully developed other technologies, and now we've
Right.
invested millions of dollars, creating the wind turbines, putting them in, and then we realize, oh, it's not like what happens to all of that material? And we know from in the past, we've invested money in technologies that as
So
things update.
surprisingly, there's a story that actually came out of the BBC last week. I think I talked about it last week, where in Denmark or Norway, one of the northern countries there in Europe, actually has been thinking about this because wind turbine technology has been around now for about 3 decades, right?
Mhm.
And so there's wind turbines that are actually coming to end of life,
Mhm.
and they're already out ahead thinking about, recycling parts from the wind turbines, recycling the wind turbines themselves into
Mhm.
usable materials for other things. For instance, there's tons of projects where you have roads and that kind of thing, and they're near urban areas. Well, the wind turbines use a perfect material that can be used over and over and over and over and over again for things for like noise suppression. And it works way better than anything that's out on the market today.
Mhm.
So they're already thinking about this stuff, which is great, should be part of the conversation, right? I think that's what your
Yes,
point is,
yes, yes.
right?
And that,
Yeah,
but Brian, there's, which I love, as part of this clip that you showed, is the gentleman that is speaking out to how this affects wildlife in the ecosystem, right? And
yeah,
apparently there is also research that says that the wind turbines create, everything is energy, and it's actually disrupting the wildlife that is in the water. So, we think that we're we're helping the air, but we're actually hurting the ecosystem that's underneath the water in ways that we can't understand because we may only see the effects of that, in so many years, when all of a sudden there are certain animals that aren't reproducing to the numbers that they were before because it creates a sound energy that is imperceptible to our ears, but
right.
they're very, very sensitive to. And he highlights what's happening in the air, which I'm also familiar with, that when we look to the cons to wind power, that it
hmm
absolutely disrupts wildlife in the air as well, which, and then what gets highlighted in that piece is, that just the bottom line, how much money is it going
Well,
to take? And
I tell you what, I want people to go and watch the full clip from France 24, France 24, um, using the link that we have, because There's another environmentalist that's there that talks about the opposite end of that spectrum, which is when they've done wind turbines in certain areas where environmentalists were saying that this was going to disrupt it, actually nature adjusted to it, because since the wind where the wind turbines are becomes a sanctuary. It automatically becomes a sanctuary where people can't fish, they can't boat, they can't go through any there. So fish and other wildlife literally migrated in that area because now it's restricted. So there's a couple of different things. I guess, these are things that we have to adjust for. I think the bottom line around this is that we never talked about this stuff with fossil fuel energy. We just start burning it, right? There was no discussion about how it was going to be detrimental to the environment. There was no discussion about the future in terms of energy. We just start doing it, right? So the great thing is that as we are moving into a new era of energy production using non-fossil fuel elements, we are having that discussion as we're doing it, right? And that we're including all these different voices, which is a great thing, which is the way it should be, right? And that we're adjusting as we're moving forward.
And I hope that those voices get heard. That's what I hope.
Yeah, they are.
There are.
Yeah, they are. They are being heard. It's why newscasts like Franz von Kat talks about it and brings it into the forefront. It's why you have two different countries and mayors talking to each other about all these different things that are happening. Listen, we're not going to take a break. We're actually going to keep talking about some hot topics on here on SOULIVITY Today. This next thing is really cool because a lot of times, Teresa, we go into these hot topics and we get really, really serious, but we also want to have some fun, right? I mean, and we thought we would have everybody kind of lay back, take a break, and plan out what they're going to do in September with the latest and greatest movies.
Hi, everybody. As September arrives, you can count on 3 things. The leaves will begin to turn, the weather will start to cool, and new movies. You can find the movies that will be released in September in our video. We are waiting for your comments about the movies that will be released. The Equalizer 3, the final movie in the Denzel Washington-led action franchise that got its start in 2014, will see Robert McCall going up against the Mafia. The official plot synopsis for The Equalizer 3 reads, since giving up his life as a government assassin, Robert McCall has struggled to reconcile the horrific things he's done in the past and finds a strange solace in serving justice on behalf of the oppressed. Finding himself surprisingly at home in southern Italy, he discovers his new friends are under the control of local crime bosses. As events turn deadly, McCall knows what he has to do, become his friend's protector by taking on the Mafia. The Good Mother is written and directed by Miles Fit and stars Swank, Olivia Cook, DeLone, Hopper Penn, Norm Lewis, Karen Aldridge, and Jack Rayner. Starring 2-time Academy Award winner Hilary Swank, The Good Mother follows the journalist Marissa Bennings, Hilary Swank, who, after the murder of her estranged son, forms an unlikely alliance with his pregnant girlfriend Paige, Olivia Cook, to track down the killers. Together they confront a world of corruption and drugs in the seedy underbelly of a small city in upstate New York. As they get closer to the truth, they unearth an even darker secret. Jawan is an upcoming movie set to release in 2023 that has been generating a lot of excitement. The film has garnered attention due to its star-studded cast, including popular actors Shah Rukh Khan, Nayanthara, and Deepika Padukone. Directed by Atlee, the movie aims to showcase the struggles faced by ordinary people in India. Jawan is an upcoming movie scheduled for release on September 7, 2023. Starring Shah Rukh Khan, Nayanthara, and Deepika Padukone.
India is
The
just
film
like
tells the story of a
blowing out
common
with all
man
these
facing
movies
unjust
that
accusations.
are coming out.
Directed by Atlee, it explores the challenges faced by individuals in society. With high expectations and a talented cast, fans are eagerly awaiting the release of this highly anticipated movie. The Nun 2. The next addition to the Conjuring universe is headed to theaters, and fans of the horror franchise can't wait to see what Terror the Demon Valak has in store for them next. Part of the dark world created by horror hero James Wan, The Nun 2 has been long awaited, and 5 years after the release of the first The Nun film, audiences are eager to see what Haunt the Demon is headed to next. A follow-up to the enigmatic gothic horror about a strong evil that haunts and causes supernatural harm to everybody it comes into contact with. After the events of the first film, the said powerful evil now begins to spread in 1956 throughout a town in France as word gets out that a priest has been violently murdered. A Finnish contemplative in her novitiate, Sister Irene, begins to investigate the murder, only to find a demon behind it, the same evil that terrorized her in the original film as a nun Valak, whom she once again soon comes to encounter. My Big Fat Greek Wedding, 2002, continues to be the highest-grossing romantic comedy ever to grace theaters and is an absolute delight to watch even to this day. The second film from 2016 was also funny, heartfelt, and a natural follow-up to Tula and Ian's stories. In the movie, they are parents of a teenage daughter trying to grapple with her own big fat Greek legacy. My Big Fat Wedding 3 follows Tula as she honors her father's last wish and takes the whole family to the village where he grows up in Greece. As she tries to track down her father's childhood best friends, she winds up learning a lot more about her roots and her family along the way.
Oh, thank you. I'm a vegetarian.
A Haunting in Venice. Agatha Christie remains the best-selling fiction author of all time and the queen of whodunits. Her stories have been adapted for the screen countless times and have been the primary source of inspiration for detective films well after her time. After the successes of Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile, it is welcome news that a third installment of the modern Hercule Poirot films is set to hit theaters late next year. This time around, the detective film is also a supernatural one. The setting is post-World War II Italy. Detective Hercule Poirot is retired and lives a secluded life in Venice. He is invited to a séance and begrudgingly attends against his opposition. When a guest is murdered at the haunted palazzo where the séance is held, Poirot must come out of retirement and put his hung-up detective skills back to work. In doing so, he uncovers a hidden world of secrets and awakens the ghosts of a forgotten past.
If you don't drop your guns by the end of this sentence.
Outlaw Johnny Black. Hell-bent on avenging the death of his father, Johnny Black vows to gun down Brett Clayton and becomes a wanted man in the process while posing as a preacher in a small mining town that's been taken over by a notorious land baron. The Expendables are back for another wild ride. Nearly a decade after the third film in the action movie series, Expendables 4 is coming this year. Here's what to know. The first The Expendables film in 2010 was a huge hit thanks to its dream team of action movie stars coming together. 2 sequels followed, but after The Expendables 3 underperformed in 2014, there was a long delay for a new film. It's finally coming together under director Scott Wall, with the plotline being this team of freelance mercenaries trying to stop a conflict that could erupt into World War III.
Yay!
Woo! It's gonna be a good September. What looks good to you? What looks good to you really quickly?
Really quickly for me, it was the last one, The Expendables 4.
Oh, you're action girl.
Because those are icons, those are legends in there. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah. And I love Stallone. I'm like the way he's aging. I just think
Yeah.
he's just one of those icons, that it was graced the screen for many.
I
And
think for me, I think for
I think
me,
it's incredible.
yeah, Denzel. Got to see Denzel. Got to see Equalizer. It's the last. It's the last one. It's the last movie in the series. But of course, The Expendables. I'm an action buff, and I love the way that the latest Agatha Christie books have been brought to life. Murder on Orient Express, Death on the Nile, and now this new movie, A Haunting in Venice. I love Venice, so I can't wait. I can't wait. Listen, everybody, we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back with more of SOULIVITY Today, especially with a really beautiful, heartwarming story that proves once again that a way to a man's or woman's heart is through their stomach. We'll explain why when we come back.
6 years ago, when I started SOULIVITY, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit soulivity.com now.
Do you see me kneeling on this dual roller called Parasetter? It's actually comfortable because of this channel and the softness of the special foam. It feels like my kneecaps are being massaged. When I lie down, my spine is housed in this channel, while the convex rollers massage my muscles. They let go and lengthen. There's a traction effect from my head on the headrest and my mid-back from the rib wrap, which hugs me. When I start the breathing sequence, I feel calm because my cortisol levels are dropping. Lower cortisol means bye-bye constant hunger. Parasetter is 40 inches long and much more comfortable than old-style rollers, but it weighs only 10 ounces. Parasetter, just like Pilates was, is no longer an insider secret. Do yourself a favor. Reset your parasympathetic nervous system. Defeat stress. Lying, sitting, kneeling, or standing. This unique patented roller helps everyone.
Hey, we're back with more from SOULIVITY Today. Teresa, for our last Hot Topic, for Hot Topic Friday, we thought we would make our community's hearts more open with this next one. As I said before, remind you that a way to a man's or woman's heart is through their stomach. Thanks to ABC Localist for this great story.
Thank you.
Can I get you something to drink?
Back in 2015, Carrie and I were visiting Carrie's sister in the hospital, and when we left, decided let's go grab something to eat. Thank you. The closest place was the Livingston Diner. And as I'm ordering, holding the menu, Carrie snapped my picture. I'm going to do her pic. And I said, half jokingly, this would be really cool if we can take this exact same picture at every diner in the state of New Jersey.
Macaroni and
cheese. And today is our 204th diner.
Spending time with him, I would do almost anything. Oh, lovely. It's almost like a mini vacation without the suitcase. Yay.
Right, ladies first.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've known each other since 1981, so that's 42 years. And we've been married. Next month will be 39.
I'm a registered nurse. I'm the nutritionist between us.
I own a dry cleaning delivery service. And this is also our way of supporting small business throughout the state. Most of the diners are owned by families. They struggle, and this is just our little contribution to help them, and that means a lot to us, as a small businessman myself.
That year was 1946. Well, it's very hard, especially today. It's hard to find employees, help, and also we fight the food cost. You know, for a long time in this business, we take a proud of it. I'm very glad that they stopped by. This is very good to promote a small business, a small mom and pop shops, because that's what we need. Well, thank you for stopping. I appreciate very much.
The Club Diners are 204th stop, but there's still over 200 for us to get to, and no reason to stop. We're just going to keep pursuing it. It may take 5 years, it may take 25 years, but it doesn't matter. We're just going to do the best we can and enjoy this beautiful state of ours.
Oh,
So sweet.
I know, right? Right?
What they're
I mean, that's so cool.
eating looks sweet too. What they're eating was looking sweet.
Oh yeah. Nom, 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 nom. Hey, there's nothing like good diner food. I don't know what it is about it. I mean, I grew up. Did you grow up? You grew up with diners, right? Where you lived?
No, not that. No, not really.
Really? Oh
Yeah,
man.
it must be more of it because he's like 400 and just, and I was like, I'm sorry, over 200. I was like, really? Like, we don't have that many.
Yeah, I think it's a East Coast, Midwest kind of thing. Because I grew up, there's diners in Michigan and around that area. Not as many as there were before, and definitely not as many as they were saying in New Jersey. It's what's really funny is that at the time that we just did this story, I think they're on 214 or 15 now. So they're going to keep going and get to all 400 of them. This is just in New Jersey. This is not in New York State. It's not in the surrounding states. It's only in New Jersey where there are 400 diners to go to. So, which is really cool. So maybe that might be a trip that I have to take with my honey. Like go and check out some diners. Wow, that's really cool. And to celebrate this as part of their love for each other and how they met and and continued the home fires burning between their relationship and their marriage. That's really cool. That's really, really cool. Yeah, great stories. Great stories. Listen, we're gonna take another quick break with my favorite girl today, Teresa, here on SOULIVITY Today. We've got more to come here. And so stick around, and we'll be right back after these messages. Bye. SOULIVITY Today is brought to you by Assume control over your weight and broader health with the 80 Bites program by Physical Mind Institute.
For 50 years, we've been told, load up your plate with veggies. Load them up, because all this spinach, look at it, all the spinach is only 100 calories. But avoid fat, because a tiny sliver of butter is also 100 calories. So spinach is good, butter is bad, right? But not today. Now we're told, put butter on everything, even in your coffee. Why? Because fat doesn't spike insulin, as carbs do. And stretching the stomach with all those veggies unbalances our digestive hormones. So eat healthy today means fat, fasting, stomach control, right here's the stomach. Forget calories. Hormones rule, and 80 Bites is the solution.
Would you like to be one of the first people to experience mental freedom? Mental freedom is a coaching practice with 6 core principles: improving hope, self-efficacy, optimism, resilience, and general well-being. Mental freedom only takes 6 sessions. It is designed to give you the tools you need to help yourself. It can help with any situation: relationship problems, past trauma, career decisions, parenting challenges, addiction, and mental health concerns. Incorporating the Mental Freedom Framework into your life will deliver an approach to master any situation and a pathway toward achieving inner peace. Mental freedom provides the information and tools that you need to grow and be bigger than anything that ever happens to you. So if you're looking for one-on-one or a group coaching program that will allow you to address any situation that comes up in your life with practical tools to give you more peace and joy, then join the Mental Freedom Program in SOULivity's Aspire Academy. There are very limited spots available, so don't delay. I hope to see you there.
And we're back with more of SOULiVity Today. Let's get to some shameless plugs, shall we, Teresa?
Yes.
We were just kind of doing one just a minute ago. You have this phenomenal program that's available through soulivity.com and our Aspire Academy called 6 Weeks to Mental Freedom. It is totally, totally amazing. Can you tell people a little bit about it?
Yeah, I feel like the video summed up, a lot of what the thinking behind the program is, but it is really designed to give you tools in 6 weeks that will help you to tackle any situation that comes your way. That in those 6 weeks, every week we look at a different way of being able to reframe, be able to look at situations through a different lens, to be able to give you that mental freedom. So instead of you thinking about it and it ruining your present moment, because we know that happiness is found in the present moment, is really to be able to look at those situations and tackle them with one of the tools that you will learn. So it's incredible.
And you can find out more information about how to sign up for Teresa's 6 Weeks to Mental Freedom by going to our website at soulivity.com and visiting soulivity.com/Teresa Mental Freedom. That's soulivity.com/Teresa Mental Freedom. And right now, because you're listening and you're part of our community, you're getting a special limited time offer where you're getting a 70% discount off the regular fee. It's only $333, which is like really, really cool, Teresa. I mean, wow.
Crazy deal.
Crazy good, as they would say on. Also, as always, listen, we want you to be engaged with our community to the utmost. So we would love for you to visit our new and reimagined soulivity.com. It's been up now for about 45 days or so. And so check it out, read the latest stories, including a great interview that I did with Viveki Garnas on discovering your soul's mission. It was a great interview, Teresa. I mean, I loved every minute of it. Also, there's another fantastic Gaia on the Go travel feature where she's talking about a perfect week of sun and surf in Algarve, Portugal. I don't know about you, Teresa, but I would love to be in Portugal right now. Man, yeah. I mean, that's man, that'd be really, really nice. Any favorite moments of today's show at all for you?
That's tough because I liked all of the stories, but I always like the heartwarming ones, right? That's why we talk about that on Motivational Mondays. We really talk about feel good ones.
Yeah.
And so yes, the diner one was my highlight because it celebrates love, right?
Yeah.
Love for in their relationship, love for food, love for like those beautiful, parts of being human and, being spirits here, having that human experience. That was my favorite story. What about you?
I would have to agree. Always love movies. I've been a movie buff as well, but that one was like over the top great because it was so different, right? It's so we don't hear enough about how people are doing things to kind of like together to kind of like do that kind of thing. I mean, typically, exercise and all that kind of stuff, but not going to diners, right? And there's a sweet story behind it as well, which is just like so cool. That I love where, they snapped this picture many, many years ago and they're like, hey, why don't we keep doing that? And so, which is really, really cool. Man, before we get out of here, just want to remind everybody to listen. This is how we do it here at SOULIVITY.com and on SOULIVITY Today. So why not follow us on social media, where you can get even more information and more inspiration and motivation to create a great life for yourself. We've got so many different features that we highlight on across social media, too many to mention today. And so just follow us on social media. We're on all the social media platforms, from Facebook to Instagram, from YouTube to TikTok. We are available and ready for you to get started. Wow, Teresa, it always seems like the time goes by so fast with us, on these shows.
Yes, it always does. But this is the way to just leave the week, on a good note as we go into the weekend. So thank you so much for having me on today.
Of course. This is how we do it. And thanks to you out there for being part of our special Hot Topics Friday here on SOULIVITY Today. We hope that you come back and join us every weekday, not just Fridays, but every weekday, where you can listen to us about a whole range of different topics, including our upcoming Motivational Monday, where Teresa is going to be back with us. But you have to listen to us at 8 a.m. Eastern time for our live feed here on SOULIVITY TV, or you can listen to us at 8 a.m. Pacific time on KMET 1490 AM radio out in Southern California. For all of you on the West Coast, hey, uncles and aunts out there, have family out there, so I'm going to wave to them real quick. Thanks again for being here. We're wishing you a life full of passion, purpose, to create that full life, your best life today of high quality living. We'll see you next time.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written